This is the Release and Realization podcast, where we explore emotional freedom and practical manifestation based on the teachings of Lester Levenson and Neville Goddard to help you unlock your inner power and create the life you want. Welcome. In today's episode, David and Anna talk about the connection between the teachings of Neville Goddard and Lester Levenson.
Nothing changed on the outside, and yet everything shifted because I was no longer the same inside.
That is the quote. That is really the whole conversation right there, isn't it?
It really is. It perfectly sets the stage. Welcome back, everyone, to the Deep Dive. Today, we are wading into some pretty contested waters. We're trying to resolve a massive headache for a lot of people who are on this path.
Mm-hmm. It's a real tug of war.
It is. You have this constant battle between two, very popular, very loud schools of thought in the world of consciousness and personal development.
It is a common dilemma, for sure. You've got the whole manifesting crowd on one side, and then you have the letting go crowd on the other. And for anyone trying to navigate this, it can feel like you're being pulled in two completely opposite directions.
Exactly. I mean, on one side, you have the legend himself, Neville Goddard. The prophet of imagination creates reality.
Right. The guy who tells you to assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled.
Yes. It's all about addition. It's about building something new. You create a scene, you live in the end, you feel it real. It feels very active, very creative. You feel like you're building a new reality inside your mind.
And then you're right. In the complete other corner, you have someone like Lester Levenson, the master of releasing. And his whole philosophy seems to be about subtraction, letting go of attachment, letting go of the wanting, dropping the resistance. It feels like taking things away, not adding them.
And if you're like me, or like I'm sure many of the people listening, you get totally stuck in the middle of that. You're sitting there thinking, okay, wait, do I spend my evening visualizing the car I want? Do I feel the leather on the steering wheel, like Neville says?
Right.
Or do I sit here and try to let go of wanting the car entirely, like Lester seems to suggest? It genuinely feels like they're telling us to walk in opposite directions down the same street.
One says engage with the desire, the other says detach from it.
Exactly. Engage versus detach.
And on the surface, it certainly appears that way. But that is the entire reason we've pulled together all this research and these notes today. Because the mission of this deep dive is to demonstrate that these aren't opposite directions at all.
You're saying they're actually the same thing.
I'm saying they are two different doors that open into the exact same room. They are targeting the exact same structural mechanic of reality. Whether you are living in the end with Neville or you're letting go with Lester, you are actually, underneath it all, performing the precise same inner shift.
Okay, that's a bold claim, but I am absolutely here for it. Because if that's true, it means you don't have to choose a side in this war.
You don't. You can see them as tools in the same toolbox to be used when appropriate.
You can use both.
Precisely. And that's what we're going to unpack. We're going to look at the very source of reality according to both teachers. We'll look at how they define the self, which is critical. Then we'll get into the engine of emotion. And finally, really synthesize how you can use both of these perspectives to achieve what they both ultimately valued.
Naturalness.
Naturalness. And we'll even touch on how this connects to your actual physical nervous system.
I love it. Okay, so let's start at the very foundation. Because before we get into the techniques, the SATs or the releasing questions, the how-to, we have to understand the what. What do these two men actually believe about the nature of reality?
Yes, you have to start there. Because if their fundamental map of the world is different, then their directions are never going to lead to the same place.
But you're saying their map is the same.
Their map is almost identical. If you strip away the specific language, if you remove Neville's very biblical, metaphorical language, and you take away Lester's more clinical, almost psychological terminology, you find a shared axiom.
And that is?
Outer reality is an effect, not a cause. Full stop. The world out there is a shadow.
Okay, let's pause on that for a second. Outer reality is an effect. I think we hear that phrase thrown around a lot in these circles, but let's really drill down on it. What does Neville say about this? Because his version is, it's pretty radical.
It is. It's absolute. For Neville Goddard, consciousness is the only reality, period. There's no wiggle room for him. He believes that the world you see around you, your job, your health, your relationships, your bank account, it's all just a projection. It's a screen.
So like a movie projector in a theater.
That is the perfect analogy. Think about it. You're sitting in a dark theater and you're watching a film. If you don't like the movie that's playing on the screen, Maybe it's a horror movie and you want to see a comedy. What do?
You don't run up to the screen and try to paint a smile on the actor's face.
Of course not. That would be completely absurd. You don't yell at the screen. You don't try to scrub the image off with a cloth. Intuitively, the problem isn't on the screen.
The problem is in the projector room.
Yeah.
You have to change the film.
Exactly. But Neville says that is precisely what we do every day of our lives. We try to change our external circumstances by manipulating the circumstances themselves. We're all running up to the screen and trying to fix the reflection.
While the same old movie keeps playing from the projector.
Right. Neville says you have to go back to the projector. And for Neville, that projector, that film, is your state of consciousness, your I-amness.
And he makes a really important distinction here, which I think is where a lot of people get tripped up with this stuff. It's not just thoughts that create reality.
No, absolutely.
It's not just sitting there chanting, I'm rich, I'm rich, I'm rich. While every cell in your body is screaming in terror about your bills.
Correct. That is a crucial nuance and probably the most misunderstood part of his work. Neville teaches that it's the lived state of consciousness. It's the identity that you are embodying. It's not a fleeting thought. It's the psychological ground you are standing on.
He calls it the difference between thinking of something and thinking from something.
Yes. Can I expand on that?
Please do.
Thinking of a new house means you're seeing it as an object separate from yourself. You're on the outside, looking at it. There's a sense of distance. Oh, that's a nice house over there. I would like to have it.
Which implies you don't have it.
It presupposes lack. But thinking from the new house, now you are inside it. You're looking out of its windows. You feel the cool floorboards under your feet. You know where the light switches are. You're not looking at it. You're looking at the world from it.
That's the lived state.
That is the lived state. That is the film and the projector.
Okay, so that's Neville. The world is a mirror, a projection of the inner state you embody. Now, how does Lester Levenson come at this? He uses different words. He talks a lot about resistance.
He does. Lester's view is that the external world reflects our inner emotional resonance. He would say that every single problem you face on the outside is actually just a physical manifestation of an internal resistance or an attachment.
Resistant, that's his key word. What does he really mean by that in a practical sense?
Think of resistance as a clenched fist inside your stomach. It's that feeling of no. It's the feeling of, I don't like this shouldn't be happening, I need this to change, I can't handle this.
The fight against what is.
The fight against what is. Lester discovered that this internal no, this clenching, is actually what holds the external problem in place. For him, suffering is 100% internal. It's not the fact that you don't have the money that causes the suffering. It's your internal resistance to the present moment combined with your desperate attachment to the idea of needing money to be okay.
So if Neville says, the world is a projection of your state, Lester is basically saying, the world is a reflection of what you're internally resisting and clinging to.
Yes. And if you hold those two statements side by side, you see they're pointing to the exact same thing. The origin point is inside.
You can't change the reflection without changing the face.
That's the mirror analogy we keep coming back to, and it's so powerful. If I look in the mirror and I see that I have spinach in my teeth, I don't take a tissue and try to wipe the mirror's teeth.
Right, that would be insane. You'd be scratching the glass, getting more and more frustrated that the spinach in the reflection isn't moving.
But that is how most of us live our lives. We try to fix the bank account, fix the partner, fix the government, fix the body. We're working entirely on the reflection.
While the whole time, the spinach is still stuck to our own tooth.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And both Neville and Lester are standing there pointing and saying, stop touching the mirror, the problem isn't out there.
The issue is with you, the face in front of the mirror.
Yes. Neville says, change the state of consciousness, change the face, and the reflection must change. It has no choice. Lester says, release the internal attachment and resistance, stop clenching against what you see, and the external problem dissolves on its own.
So the shared insight really is inner causation. The work is never about fixing the world directly. It's always, always about transforming the inner landscape from which the world emerges.
That's the foundation for everything else we're going to talk about.
Okay, so this brings us to a really, really interesting question. If the inner state is the cause, the boss, then who is the I that is changing the state? This is where we get into the concept of identity. And this feels like it's less of a technique and more of the, the real philosophical heart of the matter.
I agree. This is the next section of our breakdown, and it is arguably the most philosophical, but I would also argue it's the most practical, because both of these teachers demand a radical redefinition of who you, the person with the problem actually are.
They both seem to agree that if you identify with the problem, you're trapped.
You're trapped. You can't solve it from that level of consciousness. Let's look at Neville first. He talks constantly about the I am.
Right. He pulls that directly from Scripture. I am that I am.
He does. And for Neville, I am is the creative principle itself. It's God and man. It's the pure, formless awareness that exists before you attach any labels to it. It's just inner being, unconditioned consciousness.
So I am is the noun, and everything that comes after it is just an adjective, a temporary description.
That is a perfect way to phrase it. Precisely. You say, I am hungry, I am tired, I am a lawyer, I am broke. Neville says the I am is the only reality in that sentence. The words that follow it are just the identification you've chosen to assume.
And the problem, according to him, is mistaken identification.
Mistaken identification? Meaning we confuse the adjective for the noun. We think the temporary costume is who we really are.
We think I am poor is a solid, unchangeable fact about our being.
Yes, we treat it like it's carved in stone. And Neville says no. I am poor is just the great I am, that infinite creative power currently wearing the costume of poverty. The self you think you are, the one with the messy history, the limitations, the baggage, is just a state you have consented to occupy.
You know, that makes the ego sound less like a villain that you have to go to war with, and more like, I know, an actor who has gotten so lost in their role that they've forgotten they're in a play.
That is a beautiful and very accurate way to put it. The ego isn't an enemy to be fought and destroyed. It's just a case of amnesia. You've forgotten that you are the writer, the director, and the actor. You've gotten lost in the part you're playing.
So Neville's solution is what you called the snap.
Yes. It's that moment of waking up inside the play. It's the moment of stepping into a different state. It's the realization, wait a minute, I am not the character who is poor and unloved. That's just a role. I'm the awareness that is playing that role.
And once you realize that, you can choose a different role.
You can choose a different role. You don't try to fix the poor man. The poor man's consciousness is predicated on lack. You can't make him wealthy. Instead, you step out of the poor man's state entirely and you step into the wealthy man's state. It's a radical shift in identity.
Okay, so Neville is all about swapping costumes. You realize you can take one off and put another one on. How does Lester approach this? He talks about dissolving the ego, which sounds a bit more permanent.
It does sound more permanent. Lester is, in a way, a bit more ruthless with the concept of the separate self. For Lester, the self, or the ego, isn't a costume so much as it is a collection of attachments. He defines the limited self as a bundle of things it clings to and things it pushes away.
Like a magnet that's been rolled through a junkyard and is covered in metal shavings.
That's a great visual.
Yes.
Imagine a powerful, clean magnet representing your true, infinite self. But over the years, it's collected all these rusty metal shavings. And the shavings are thoughts and feelings like, I'm this body, I need security, I need approval, I need to be in control.
The things we cling to for a sense of identity.
Precisely. And Lester says that suffering comes from that clinging. It comes from the belief, this is who I am these attachments. Or the belief that I need this external thing, this approval, this money to be whole.
And so for him, the solution is letting go.
It's letting go. When you let go, when you release the need for approval or you release the need for control, you're not just solving a temporary problem, you are actively dismantling the structure of the limited self. You're picking the metal shavings off the magnet one by one.
And what happens when all the shavings are gone?
What's left?
Just the clean magnet.
Or, as Lester might put it, what's left is the true self with a capital S. The limitless peace, limitless love, limitless being that was underneath all that junk the whole time. The small, needy self dissolves, and the infinite self is revealed.
So let's put these side by side again. Neville says, change the state you occupy. Step from state A, the problem state, into state B, the solution state.
Right? An active shift of identification.
And Lester says, release your attachment to state A. Stop clinging to the problem state, and what remains is perfection.
Exactly. But notice the incredible commonality there. Both of them agree fundamentally that the solution is not fixing the current self.
Right. You can't make the poor self rich.
No, because the poor self is defined by its poverty.
Yeah.
That's its entire identity. To become rich, you have to cease to be the poor self. You either have to step out of it, as Neville teaches, or dissolve your attachment to it, as Lester teaches.
There's a quote here from our notes that just sums this up so perfectly. Freedom didn't come from getting what I wanted, but from no longer clinging to who I thought I was.
And that could have come from either of them. It really could.
It really could. It highlights that the transformation is ontological. It's about a change in being. It's a shift in identity, not just a shift in your external circumstances. The circumstances change as a byproduct of you changing.
Which is a much more powerful place to operate from.
Okay, so we have the map. Inner state creates outer reality. We have the vehicle for change, shifting our core identity. Now we need the fuel. Because I can sit here and intellectually understand I am not my problems, but that doesn't necessarily, move the needle. I need some juice.
And that juice, for both of them, is emotion. This is our third section, the engine. Both teachers are adamant that intellectualism is not enough. You cannot just think positive and expect your life to change.
Right, the classic affirmations trap. Standing in front of the mirror, looking yourself in the eye and saying, I am a millionaire, while your stomach is just in knots about paying your rent. It feels like you're lying to yourself.
It feels like a lie because it is a lie at that moment. There's a massive conflict between your conscious thought and your subconscious feeling. And both Neville and Lester will tell you, in that fight, feeling wins. Every single time.
The subconscious mind speaks the language of feeling.
It speaks the language of feeling, not the language of English or logic. It responds to the vibration, the resonance, not the words.
Okay, so let's break down Neville's take on this first. He wrote a whole book called Feeling is the Secret. It was obviously central to his teaching.
It's the absolute core. For Neville, imagination is the engine, but emotion is the fuel. If you imagine a scene, let's say you imagine shaking your colleague's hand after getting a promotion, but you do it with zero feeling, like a dry intellectual exercise.
Visualizing the pixels.
Right, just seeing the mental picture. He says nothing will happen. It's like a car with a powerful engine but no gas in the tank. It's not going anywhere.
But he's very specific about the type of a feeling, isn't he? Yeah. This is another place people get tripped up. He's not talking about just getting really hyped up and excited.
No, and that is a massive misconception. People think feeling means high energy, emotion like ecstasy or fist-pumping joy or jumping up and down. And while that can happen, that's not what Neville is pointing to.
He's pointing to the feeling of the wish fulfilled.
The feeling of the wish fulfilled. And if you really think about what that feels like, it's usually a feeling of relief, of satisfaction, of naturalness. It's the quiet, sensory feeling that the desire is already a fact.
So it's the difference between the excited energy of, oh my gosh, I'm going to get a puppy.
Yeah.
And the calm, warm feeling of the puppy actually sleeping on your lap.
That is the perfect distinction. The excitement is in the wanting, the anticipation. The puppy actually sleeping on your lap has a weight, a warmth, a reality to it. It feels done. It feels normal. That felt quality is the creative force. It's the feeling, the deep exhale of completion.
Okay, so Neville uses feeling to imprint the new reality onto the subconscious. How does Lester use feeling? Because on the surface, letting go sounds like getting rid of feeling.
It does, but it's more nuanced. Lester's approach is all about the suppressed emotional charge. He would say that the reason we hold on to our problems is because we are holding on to the unfelt emotions underneath them.
What do you mean by that?
He had a whole chart of emotions. You have grief, apathy, fear, lust, anger, pride, all stacked up in our subconscious, often in layers. We spend our lives trying not to feel these things.
We push them down, like a pressure cooker.
A pressure cooker is the perfect analogy. We feel that anger bubble up at our boss, and we clamp the lid down. That's repression. We smile and say, yes, sir, while seething inside. And Lester says that repressed energy, that steam in the cooker, is what sustains the suffering. It's the fuel that keeps the state of lack alive.
So his method is to open the valve.
Let the steam out, yes. Letting go is the act of dissolving this emotional charge. His process guides you to allow the feeling to come up, to welcome it without judgment, and then to let it pass through you and dissipate. You don't analyze it, you don't fight it, you just let it be and let it leave.
And here's the magic part of his teaching, right? He says that things like love and peace and joy, they aren't things you have to go out and get.
Exactly. They aren't things you have to create or manifest.
They're what's left when the steam is gone.
Precisely. They are your natural state. They are what is revealed when the negative emotional charge is removed. It's like the blue sky that's revealed when the storm clouds dissipate. You don't have to create the blue sky. It was there the whole time.
This is where I really see the synthesis clicking into place. They are literally doing the same thing from opposite ends of the spectrum.
Let's trace it. Lester's method is to remove the negative charge. He helps you release the resistance, the fear, the anger that says, I don't have it, or I'm afraid I won't get it.
Okay.
So when you fully and completely remove the feeling of I don't have it, what are you left with?
Well, if I don't feel I don't have it, I guess I just feel okay. I feel complete. I feel at peace with what is.
You feel a lack of lack. You feel peace. Now look at Neville. He installs the positive charge. He has you assume the conviction, the feeling that says, I already have it.
And if I truly feel I already have it, I also feel peace. I feel complete. The wanting is gone.
Boom, there it is. Both methods bring you to a state where the anxiety of wanting has been neutralized. Whether you release the fear of not having it, like Lester, or you assume the feeling of already having it, like Neville, the end result is the same. The desperate, needy, grasping energy stops.
The inner state shifts from lack to either having or being.
And that, they both agree, is what changes the reflection in the mirror. It is the felt quality of your consciousness that determines the outcome. It's not the words in your head, it's the vibration in your body.
Which leads us directly into the stickiest, most confusing part of this whole discussion, the big one, the paradox.
Yeah.
The paradox of desire and attachment. This is the question that trips everyone up. Neville says desire is God. He tells us to have desires, to want things, to fulfill them. And then Lester comes along and says desire is a lack. He says we should let go of our desires.
It sounds like a complete and total contradiction.
It does. Want it versus don't want it. It can drive a student of this stuff absolutely crazy.
And it creates this paralysis. If I let go of the desire, then I'm telling the universe I don't want it and I won't get the thing.
Right. But if I cling to the desire too hard, I'm in a state of lack, and that pushes it away. So what do you do?
The key is to look at how each of them defines desire and attachment. Let's start with Neville. For Neville, a desire is not a bad thing. He calls it a divine impulse. It's the universe, or God, knocking on the door of your mind saying, hey, I want to give you this experience. I want to express this through you.
So the desire itself is the promise of its own fulfillment. Like a seed contains the tree.
A perfect analogy, yes. The desire for the house contains the reality of the house, just like the seed contains the oak tree. But, and this is the crucial part, Neville says the key is to move from the state of wanting to the state of living or having.
Because if you are wanting something,
you are, by definition, affirming that you do not have it. The state of I want a car implies the reality of I do not have a car.
And since consciousness objectifies whatever state you're in.
If you stay in the state of I want, you will just keep manifesting the experience of wanting. You will stay in the cosmic waiting room forever hoping.
So living in the end is actually the death of wanting.
That is a profound and perfect way to put it, yes. When you truly and successfully live in the end, when you feel you have the car, you no longer want the car. How can you want something you already possess? The yearning is gone because the fulfillment is present in your consciousness.
So Neville resolves the paradox by having you fulfill the desire in imagination, which kills the needy wanting energy.
Exactly. Now let's look at Lester.
Okay.
Lester makes a very sharp distinction between the object of desire and the attachment to it. He would say the object itself, the car, the job, the relationship, is neutral. There's nothing inherently wrong with having a car.
The problem isn't the car.
The problem, the suffering, comes from the thought that follows. I need this car to be happy. I need this promotion to feel worthy. My life is incomplete without this partner.
That's the attachment, the clinging.
That is the attachment, and that is the block. Lester says that this needing energy is actually repulsive. It pushes your goal away from you because it radiates lack, fear, and desperation. It's screaming to the universe, I am incomplete. I am not whole.
It's that desperate energy. We've all felt it. It repels people. It repels opportunities. It repels money. It acts like a kind of force field that keeps good things from getting too close.
It really does.
Yeah.
So Lester's instruction is, let go of the need. Let go of the feeling that your survival or happiness depends on this external thing. Reach a place where you can honestly say, I would like this, but I don't need it to be okay. I am whole and complete right now, with or without it.
And the paradox is?
The paradox is the moment you do that, the thing often shows up. It's the quote from our notes. The moment I stopped needing it, life stopped resisting me. When you let go of the attachment, the block is removed. The desperate energy dissolves. And very often, the thing you wanted just lands in your lap almost effortlessly.
So let's put it together. Neville gets you to a state of it is done, which feels like naturalness. And Lester gets you to a state of I don't need it, which feels like freedom.
And here's the kicker. Guess what? To your nervous system, those two emotional signatures, it is done and I don't need it, feel almost identical.
Wow.
Neither of them contains anxiety. Neither of them has that grasping, clinging quality. Both of them are states of rest, of peace.
That is the secret sauce right there,
Yep.
the state of rest. If you are anxious about your desire, you haven't done the inner work. If you are frantic, you haven't gotten there yet. Whether you used imagination or releasing, the end result should always be a deep internal exhale.
And if it's not, you're still in the state of trying. Which brings us to the how. Section 5. State change versus technique. Because boy, do people love their techniques.
Oh, I know. We get so wrapped up in the rituals. Okay, I did sets the state akin to sleep for exactly 22 minutes. Then I revised my day. Then I looped my scene 15 times. We get obsessed with the toolbox and we forget what we're trying to build.
It's the trap of method. We start to believe that the magic is in the technique itself. And Neville was very, very clear on this point. Techniques are merely tools. They are tools designed to induce a state. They are not the magic itself.
So if I can get into the feeling of the wish fulfilled by, I don't know, dancing around my kitchen to my favorite song, that's just as valid as lying perfectly still in bed, visualizing.
If it gets you to the state of naturalness and fulfillment, yes, absolutely. The technique is just the ramp to get you onto the highway. Once you're on the highway, driving at speed, you don't need the ramp anymore.
You leave it behind.
You leave it behind. That's why Neville said, do not try BE. The goal is to effortlessly inhabit the new identity. If you feel yourself straining or forcing it, you are struggling. And if you are struggling, you are in a state of resistance, which is the very state you're trying to leave.
And Lester's view on this.
Lester is, in a way, even more anti-technique. He constantly emphasizes that letting go is not an intellectual analysis. It's not a mental struggle. It's a direct, simple experience. It's like dropping a pen from your hand.
I love that analogy. You don't have to try to drop a pen.
You don't. You just stop doing the thing that's holding it. You stop clenching.
But we make it so complicated. We sit there analyzing why we're holding the pen and the history of our pen holding and who gave us this pen in the first place.
Chuckles, exactly. And Lester would just say, just open your hand, let it go. There is no fixing to be done. The moment the resistance, the clenching ends, the problem vanishes. The problem was only ever held in place by your grip on it.
So for both of them, the mantra is, if you are trying, you are failing.
If you are trying, you are affirming that you are not there yet. You are affirming the distance between you and your goal. The goal is a spontaneous, natural reorganization of the self. The feeling you're looking for is something shifted, and from then on, it happened by itself.
It happened by itself. You know, that leads us perfectly into the topic of time.
Yeah.
Because that's the next big hurdle. We do the work and then we want it now. We are incredibly impatient creatures.
We are. So section 6, time, the body, and the nervous system. This is where we can really ground these spiritual concepts in something more tangible.
Let's start with time. Neville has a very radical view on time.
He really does. He says creation is instantaneous.
Meaning, the moment you fully embody the state in your imagination, it is done. The creation is finished.
Yes. He would say that in the fourth dimension, in the realm of imagination, it already exists as a fact.
But then, I look around and I'm still sitting here without the car. Where's the disconnect?
Neville would say that what we call time is just the interval, the distance between your inner shift and your ability to maintain that naturalness. The delay isn't the universe manufacturing the car from scratch. The delay is you slipping back into your old state of doubt 5 minutes later.
Oof, that hits hard. So the delay is just my own wavering, my own lack of faith in the unseen reality.
Essentially, yes. He equates faith with naturalness. If the new state feels completely natural to you, it manifests very quickly. If it feels like a big deal, if it feels miraculous or unlikely, it takes time because you keep vacillating between the old state and the new one.
And what about Lester's take on time?
Lester is just as radical. He says suffering lasts only as long as resistance persists. There is no cosmic processing time. You don't need 10 years to get over a past trauma. You need 1 single second of total unconditional letting go.
The only reason it takes 10 years is because we hold on to it for 10 years minus 1 second.
That's it. Freedom, for Lester, exists only now. It's always available in this present moment, the instant you choose to drop the resistance.
You know, that is an incredibly empowering thought and also an incredibly annoying thing to hear when you're in the thick of it.
It is. It puts the responsibility squarely back on our shoulders. There's no one to blame and nowhere to hide.
But let's connect this to the body, because we mentioned the nervous system earlier, and I really think this is the missing link for a lot of people who find this stuff too. out there.
I agree completely. We have to realize that a state of consciousness isn't just some abstract idea, a cloud floating above your head. It is a somatic event. It happens in your biology.
So when Neville talks about achieving naturalness with a desire,
Naturalness is simply a regulated nervous system. If you imagine winning the lottery and your immediate response is a jolt of adrenaline, your heart starts racing, you feel panic, that is not naturalness.
that's dysregulation.
That is your nervous system screaming, this isn't safe, or this isn't real. You haven't embodied it.
So living in the end is really about getting your nervous system to a place where the desired reality feels normal, safe, maybe even a little boring.
Exactly. Boring is good. Boring means it has been accepted as fact. Now look at Lester. What is release? Think about what happens in your body when you truly let go of something you've been stressed about.
It's a physical sensation, a sigh. Your shoulders drop, your jaw unclenches.
It's a physical discharge of stress, a drop in cortisol. It's your body moving out of fight or flight and into rest and digest.
So they're both describing the same physiological state.
Yes. Both teachers, in their own language, are describing a state where the body is no longer fighting reality. Whether you call it the Sabbath, like Neville, or peace, like Lester, it is a physiological state of safety and acceptance.
I really love that connection. It takes it out of the realm of pure magic and brings it into the realm of biology. We are literally retraining our nervous systems to accept and expect a new reality.
Precisely. That is the work.
Okay, we're coming into the home stretch here. This has been fantastic. Section 7, the final integration. We've looked at all the individual pieces of the puzzle. Now let's put the whole thing together.
We've established, I think, pretty clearly that Neville and Lester are two sides of the same coin.
The coin analogy, I like that.
Let's visualize a coin. On one side, you have the words, the wish fulfilled. On the other side, you have the words, total release. But the coin itself, the metal, the substance, is the shift in consciousness.
So you can choose which side of the coin to focus on, but you're always holding the same coin.
You are. You can approach this fundamental shift by filling the mind with the feeling of the wish fulfilled. That's Neville's path. You displace the old state by crowding it out with the new desired state until there's no room left for doubt. Or you can approach the shift by emptying the mind of all the feelings of lack and resistance. That's Lester's path. You clear out all the debris, all the emotional garbage, so that your natural state of peace and wholeness can emerge.
It's like the difference between redecorating a room and deep cleaning a room. Neville redecorates. Put a new painting here, a new rug there, change the color of the walls, and Lester cleans. Throw out this old trash. Remove this clutter. Let the sunlight in.
And what's the result in both cases? If you throw out all the trash, the room looks beautiful. If you bring in beautiful new furniture, the room looks beautiful. The end result is the same. A space that feels good to be in. A state of consciousness that feels good to occupy.
And what is the ultimate goal here? Is it really the car, the money, the relationship?
No. And that is the final trap. If you make the external thing the goal, you are back in attachment. You're back to polishing the mirror.
So what is the goal then?
For Neville, the true goal is the inner conviction of, it is done. It's the quiet internal satisfaction of the creator who knows their work is finished. For Lester, the goal is realizing that happiness is causeless. It is the state of being happy for no reason.
Happiness is causeless.
Yeah.
That's a huge idea. Not being happy because I got the thing, but just being happy because.
Just as you are. And here is the beautiful final irony of the universe. When you reach that state where you are happy for no reason, where you feel it is done, where you are natural and at peace, that's when all the external things tend to show up.
They show up as a side effect.
As a side effect, not the main event. You finally become the person who has the solution, so the solution appears in your world. But by then, you almost don't care because you already feel whole and complete without it.
That is true freedom. It's not, I have $1 million, so now I'm free. It's, I am free. And oh, look, there's $1 million.
Exactly. That's the game.
Wow. Okay, let's wrap this up. This has been an incredible deep dive. We started with the core realization that Neville Goddard and Lester Levenson, despite their different language, are teaching the exact same mechanic.
We saw how they both view reality as a projection of the inner state. The world is a mirror.
We looked at how the self is just an identification, a costume that we can either step out of, like Neville, or release our attachment to, like Lester.
We saw that emotion, specifically the felt quality of a state, is the engine that actually drives this shift. It's not an intellectual process.
We tackled that big paradox of desire. learning that the goal is to move from wanting, which is lack, to either having, which is living in the end, or allowing, which is letting go of the need.
We agreed that all the techniques are just tools to reach a state of naturalness, which is really just a regulated, non-resistant nervous system.
And finally, we saw that you can fill the mind like Neville or empty the mind like Lester, but the destination is always the same. A state of inner freedom where manifestation becomes an effortless side effect.
And this is so important because it frees you, the listener, from dogma. If you're someone who struggles to visualize, great. Use Lester's releasing method. If you find letting go to be too passive or too abstract for you, great. Use Neville's powerful method of sensory immersion.
The tool doesn't matter. The shift matters.
The inner shift is the only thing that has ever mattered.
I want to leave everyone with a final thought to chew on. Something that goes a little beyond what we've discussed, but really gets to the core of this whole thing.
Go for it.
Ask yourself this question, honestly. Are you trying to force a change in the world while desperately clinging to and keeping your inner state the same? Or are you willing to dissolve the person who has the problem so that the person who has the solution can finally emerge?
That is the question. Because the person with the problem cannot find the solution. The solution exists in a different state of consciousness. You have to be willing to cease to be the person you are now.
Powerful stuff. Thank you so much for breaking all this down with me today. This is a true deep dive.
It was a pleasure, as always.
And to you listening, whether you are going to go lie down and visualize or sit quietly and release, we hope you found your path to that inner shift. Thanks for listening to The Deep Dive. We'll see you next time.
Thank you for listening to this episode. If you enjoyed the conversation, please consider subscribing to the channel. For more in-depth and advanced content, you're welcome to join us on Patreon. We'll be back next week with the continuation of this topic.